All right, folks, I don't want John Bachman to go too far because, you know, with all the attention we're putting now on everything that's going on, the horrific beheading by ISIS and the video that goes with it, Ferguson and everything else in the news, we can't lose sight, we shouldn't lose sight of what's going on at the border. And John Bachman joins us, and I know John has some information for us regarding the violence on the border. John?
Yeah, Steve, there's been a lot of violence on both sides of the border and apparently on both sides of the law. You know, a lot of the attention, as you mentioned, has been shifted from the border because of reasons like Ferguson. But after a police officer shot and killed an unarmed 18-year-old there, we wanted to go back to the border because now the former chief of internal affairs of the Border Patrol is accusing his former employer of covering up shootings and corruption. James Tomczak recently sat down with the Center for Investigative Reporting. During his unauthorized interview, he said at least a quarter of the 28 deaths he's investigated in 2010 were, quote, highly suspect. He also said that Border Patrol officials have consistently tried to change or distort facts to make fatal shootings by agents appear to be a good shoot or cover up any wrongdoing. This week, Tomczak sat down with CBS News. Here's what he told them.
I'm familiar with several incidents where the persons appeared to be fleeing and were shot in the back or the side at some distance from the Border Patrol agent when the shots were fired.
Now, Tomczak is claiming the Border Patrol suffers from, quote, institutional narcissism, and he said that the CPB has a, quote, self-identity of a paramilitary border security force and not that of a law enforcement organization. CBS News also spoke to the new commissioner of Customs and Border Protection, who said he's open to taking a closer look at these allegations.
I'm willing to say that I am more than open to look at all of these cases. Those that haven't been adequately answered or that the questions are left need to be resolved.
Now, of course, tampering Tomczak's claims are recent reports about attacks on Border Patrol agents at the border. Javier Vega was actually shot and killed while off duty and fishing with his dad. Two suspects have been arrested and charged with murder, robbery, and a number of other crimes. Both have also been arrested several times for illegally crossing the border, but they were released and supposedly living in Texas at the time of Vega's murder. And let's not forget about Brian Terry, Steve, the Border Patrol agent who was killed back in 2010. 7 people have been arrested in connection with his murder, which of course exposed the Fast and Furious gun running scandal in which federal agents tried to sell guns to Mexican criminals. In that failed sting operations, the feds actually lost track of more than 1,000 guns sold to those Mexican gangs. One of those guns has been linked to Terry's murder. Also, Tomczak is a former Secret Service agent. He has filed for federal whistleblower protection, and even though he's been relieved of his post, he still remains on the payroll as a consultant. Steve?
Wild. And of course, Eric Holder found in contempt of Congress over the Fast and Furious. But John, obviously violence on the border is not going to decrease. And as you mentioned, there are concerns about how that violence is being handled by both sides of the law and both sides of the border. Is anyone talking about actual concrete ways to fix this?
Well, we know the president denied requests for more funding for the military to work with Border Patrol agents, but I did talk to former Congressman Allen West about this, and he said they should actually put the Border Patrol under control of the Pentagon for a couple of reasons. One, it would give a lot of the veterans returning from battlefields overseas a place to work. Number two, he thinks it would increase the professionalism in the Border Patrol as to something more similar to what we see in the military. This would also give them training as they work on illegal border crossings in places like Syria and Iraq, stuff we're seeing overseas as well. Steve, back to you.
Yeah. All right, John, great work. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, sir.
Take care.
Thank you, John Bachman, ladies and gentlemen, Newsmax's own. You know, it's funny, Warner Wolf, famed sportscaster here in New York, TV, radio, Imus show, the whole thing. And he was once introduced on Channel 2 by an anchor named Michelle Marsh. And she said, now, here's our own Warner Wolf. He said, hey, I'm not your own. That always stuck with me. Anyway, very, very serious topic that John discussed, and he did a great report there, obviously. And the problem is there. Problem after problem after problem after problem. But it needs addressing, and it needs to be focused on as we have been focused on. We'll be back, folks, with our next segment, comedian and columnist for the Daily Beast, Dean Abadallah, after the break. But first, here's your max to money moment. That's right, your max to money moment with some basic investing tips, and who can't use those? Watch it on Newsmax TV.
You're watching Max to Money.
We never know when interest rates will shoot up, but they can't stay near record lows forever. So if you're investing in bonds, now is a good time to start thinking about playing defense and making changes to your financial future.
Well, we all hear now is a great time to buy a home because interest rates are so low. But we all know that at some point down the road in the future, we don't know when, interest rates are going to rise. Interest rates and bonds have an inverse relationship. As interest rates go up, the value of the bond goes down. So the reason you really want to look at the bonds in your portfolio right now is to understand how you're positioned for a rising interest rate environment.
If retirement is around the corner, be careful with your bond selection. Understand what individual bonds you own, as well as bond mutual funds. Then talk with your financial advisor to figure out the best strategy for you and your family. I'm Hannah Ostapchuk.
Get more money news at Newsmax.com.